What is up, guys, and welcome into another episode of the Ain't It Funky podcast. My guest today is Brandon Scott. Brandon is a killer drummer, video editing buff, and YouTuber based in Philadelphia. I've been watching Brandon's videos and following his journey for many years, so I am very stoked to have him on the podcast. Brandon's YouTube channel currently has 188,000 followers, and his video editing skills and cool, laid-back, humorous personality are what truly makes his channel stand out from the pack. Brandon is also currently employed by Drumeo as a video editor, but from time to time, he also makes an appearance in some of their videos. Our conversation includes Brandon's work for Drumeo, his time on cruise ships, living in South Africa, why he hates living in Philly, and more. You can find Brandon on Instagram and YouTube at Brandon Scott Drums. If you enjoy this episode, please subscribe wherever you're listening. The video version is available on YouTube too. Thanks for tuning in and enjoy. All right, Brandon Scott, welcome into the podcast.
Thank you for having me, good sir.
Thank you for being here. So, Brandon, tell me what you got going on these days.
Oh gosh, so lately it's been more video and production work. I recently got hired full-time for Drumeo, so now I'm kind of like their ad guy. So I do a lot of the marketing ads, and I fly out there every few months to shoot some videos and then come home and edit it, and then sometimes shoot stuff here at home. But yeah, I've really been enjoying it. It's not as much time for myself to be posting on YouTube anymore, but from making all the YouTube videos and stuff, I've kind of realized I do enjoy the filming and editing aspect, maybe more than actually playing the drums. So I think Drumeo is a perfect gig because it's like I get to mesh those two things together. So I get to film for this company that I've been watching since I was a little kid, and it's in that same drum space. You know, at least I'm not making like mayonnaise commercials or anything like that.
For sure. So you get to be around like a lot of, you know, big names in the industry, I guess, and film videos and edit those.
Yeah, that's also the cool part too, is because like that, yeah, I get to see, you know, people that I see online and look up to. You know, got to shoot stuff with Zach Grooves and just recently with Estepario, and yeah, just getting to hang with them and shoot stuff with them in person, and they're all like super cool and it's fun. Dude,
that's awesome, man. That's awesome. And when you're in the studios, is it like when, you know, if I'm watching like a video, for instance, you know, they do the so-and-so drummer hears this song for the first time. Is that you behind the camera? Are you in for those videos, or is it which videos are you like mainly shooting?
Yeah, no, I'm not shooting those. So they actually have their like main video team that's, you know, on site all the time. Yeah. And I'm kind of like this, you know, Swiss Army knife side independent contractor, which I love.
Right.
So I get to do these like kind of random, if they come out with a new product or something like that, I'll be on that rather than their video team, because they have a system, you know, their video team, like they get the footage, they edit, they have like a good system going. So I'm kind of like off to the side. So I do like random things here and there. And then sometimes we do get video ideas. Like we recently just shot one with Estepario where we went on the streets of Vancouver and gave drum sets away. And so we're kind of trying to do other videos like that. But yeah, it all started with like kind of marketing videos. I can talk about kind of how it happened, like how I got the job, I guess.
Yeah, please do.
Yeah, so well, it first started when I was in South Africa. I was making a bunch of YouTube content, and they reached out and was like, hey, do you want to do this video? Like I actually came to them with the idea. I was like, hey, I want to do 12 hours of Drumeo. So like spend 12 hours, you know, on the website. And so that was the first kind of connection. And then they reached out to me and said, hey, we have this new product coming out. It's the Quiet Kick. And they were wondering if I could make an ad for them. And I said, yes. I had never made an ad before, like didn't know, but I was like, yeah, sure. So did that video, and they actually really loved it. And then, yeah, it kind of snowballed from there. They were like, oh, maybe we can work out something where you're on part-time, you know, so like a few videos a month for us. And so I did that for like half a year, and then it just they ended up needing more content and stuff, and I was like, okay, I'm available. Because when you're an independent creator, it's really tough. There's like no security, you know. It's like, because I was like doing YouTube videos, gigging, giving lessons, and you're always like, okay, I'm like set for this month, but I have nothing lined up for next month. Like, hopefully I can pay rent, you know. And
Yeah.
so now it's really nice, like, you know, having a consistent paycheck and like working for a company that I believe in, and still get to do stuff that I enjoy.
Dude,
So
that's amazing.
yeah.
Killer. Yeah. And with the film editing and stuff like that, obviously in your videos, you got a lot of, like special effects stuff going on. Was that just something that you literally taught yourself, kind of troubleshooting and reading up on the internet? Or did you take a course for that? Or
No, it was all self-taught. Yeah, like fully self-taught editor. YouTube is like the best online course you can take, because when you come across an issue, you just like YouTube, you know, how to make something disappear in Adobe Premiere. I don't know. So yeah, and I actually like, I'm really interested in VFX, and I watch this YouTube channel, Corridor Crew or Corridor Digital, and they do like these VFX artists react videos where they watch, you know, movies and pause it and say, oh, like this is how they did that. And I find that stuff really fascinating. So when I was making my YouTube videos, I was kind of like, how can I kind of like set myself apart from like just giving like drum lesson, or like, you know, doing the same thing that everyone else is doing. And then I was like, okay, maybe if I do like some VFX shot as like a hook at the beginning of the video. So then that kind of got my gears turning, like, okay, what can I do for this video? Like, how can I, you know, make my sticks light on fire or whatever? I don't know.
how did you make your sticks light on fire?
It's just like it's like a cut. I did one thing where I like pretended to have a gun, and
Yeah.
yeah, it's just a cut. So I pretended to cock it, and then I paused right there, and then I lit them on fire, and then did that same action, but then you just cut it right away. So you're in the same position, but then now the sticks are on fire, and then in post you add like the gun thing going off, and like the
Ah.
screen brightens up, and but it's all about just like standing in the same spot, and then you make the cut, and then also the bright flash. Like you won't really see the cut because there's like a big ass bright flash.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Dude, that's so cool. That's amazing. But I know you mentioned in one of your videos that a friend of yours is also a very successful like video editor, and I think he edits for like movies and stuff as well.
Yeah, not really movies, but
Who's
yeah,
that?
he does stuff like for other brands, and yeah, I mean, we used to film skate videos and stuff when we were a kid, and he was always around cameras, and now like that's what he does. So he's like a director, editor, videographer. And when I moved back from South Africa, he asked me, he's like, "Hey, can you like assist me on some jobs?" So we did some jobs on like real sets, you know, for other companies, and I kind of got to see how things work in a professional setting in terms of like getting the video, then also even editing, and
Yeah.
so I think that helped me a lot to be able to like do this stuff for Drumeo too. Um, yeah, without me really knowing. And I guess I've always been around video and photo. My dad was a professional photographer, and my brother was like really into special effects and cinematography and stuff like that. So, I took like a photography course when I was in like eighth grade, and a video editing course in sixth grade.
All right.
So it was all these like little things back in the day. I didn't realize that my job would end up being those things, but I think from a very young age, it was like foreshadowing kind of the
Right.
stuff I was going to be into.
Yeah, and then I guess because you started making videos quite early on, right? Because I know you've got a lot of footage of back even when you worked in Guitar Center um,
Yeah.
and the JP Bouvet, the drum camp, and you got all this footage and the cruise ships. And we were talking about this before. You got all this footage, I guess, accumulated over the years, and you've made so many different videos. I guess over time, it just that obviously would have just snowballed, and the more
Yeah.
time you invested got better.
Yeah, I think it's the more you do it, then obviously the better each video kind of gets. And I was making videos like drum covers since I was like 12 or something like that. And then yeah, just from making my own YouTube videos, every time I made one, I'm like, you don't realize until you get to a certain point, you're like, why does my skin look purple? And then you realize like, oh, like there's this thing called white balance. And um, why is the light like look so harsh? And then you like look up lighting, and then it's just these rabbit holes that you continue going down, you know?
Yeah.
Which you just kind of learn over time. And same thing with the drums. If you're like trying a drum fill, you're like, why can't I do this? It's like, oh, I need to know how to do a paradiddle. Like, what's a paradiddle? You know? And you don't realize until you like come across that issue, how to fix it.
Yeah. Well, yeah, a lot of times, I guess, yeah, things are just, they seem complex on the surface, but then you break them down in little chunks and you break it down into just the basics. And then, as you say, then you realize it's just a pedal or even just a single stroke roll. And you're like, oh, wow, you know, that's all that is.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. But Brandon, take me back to, you moved to South Africa. You moved out there with your wife. Tell me, when you went to South Africa, at first, I know you kind of struggled to find your feet, but what kind of gigs did you find there? I know you got a teaching gig and some gigs. What kind of gigs did you find out there, and what kind of things did you do to kind of find your footing in South Africa?
Yeah, so when I first moved out there, it was pretty slow, but then got a local gig just playing like every week at this bar. They had only paid 500 Rand, which is the equivalent of like 35 US dollars. So like
wow.
a 3-hour gig for 35 bucks.
Yeah.
And then I had a friend who stopped working at this music school, or it was a regular school, like a primary school, but they also had music lessons there. So he passed that gig off to me. And so every week, for 2 days a week, I would go there and teach the young kids. So that was like a little bit of the supplementary income. And then I spent the rest of the time just like hustling on YouTube, trying to figure out like how to, you know, make more videos and trying to come up with good video ideas, because that's when I started to actually get, you know, a little bit of revenue from YouTube. So yeah, just kind of kept trying to do that and like make ends meet. But yeah, luckily the wife was working too, so we knew that's how it was going to be when I moved out there, because like I didn't even have a work permit, so everything was under the table. Like, yeah, so it was tough, but we just did that so that we could be together, because we were doing long distance, and long distance just sucks. Yeah, I met her on the cruise ships. So,
yes,
and we were like, oh, this isn't going to be possible, and but yeah, we made it work, and now we're here in Philadelphia.
Did she leave the cruise ships did you guys move in together like directly after the cruise ships?
Yeah, it was a while after. Right? So we went on the cruise ships, and like we weren't gonna be together. Like we were like trying to be realistic about it. Like, you live in South Africa, I live in California. Like, this is not gonna work. So we like split, and then she ended up continuing doing ships. I think she did 2 more contracts. Okay. And so we like found ways to kind of meet up. So we met in California, and then I went over to South Africa and visited her, and then we like knew we really liked each other, so we were like, all right, let's do this long distance thing. And then after about a year and a half of that, we were like, this is hard. So I was kind of in a position where the YouTube was starting to take off a little bit, and I was like, all right, I can just kind of like do this remote, because thankfully you can just do it from wherever. So, yeah, quit all of my like jobs here in California, and then I just like dipped out to South Africa. All my friends thought I was crazy, but I was like, this is the one.
She's it for love, man.
Yeah. Thankfully it worked out.
Oh, wow, man. Sounds like a true fairy tale.
Yeah. Yeah. Sometimes you just gotta like go with your gut, I guess. I mean, it could have ended in shambles, and she could have ended up being totally crazy. But even then, I just wanted to do it because it was like, you'll always be thinking like, what if? Like, was she the one that got away? Or even with other opportunities, it's like, you know, what's the worst that can happen? I'll just like come back to California, or
That's very true, man. Yeah. But good on you, man. I mean, good on you for making the ballsy move to go over there, and now you're back in Philly. Are you enjoying being back in Philly, or
Oh my God, I hate Philadelphia. It's such a terrible place,
are there are
honestly.
there are the, are the neighbors still there? The neighbors that said you got to deal with the noise.
No, they're gone. But we have another neighbor up here, and it's just one girl, and she's pretty quiet. So
Okay, okay.
yeah, but no, neighbors aren't too bad. It's just like the overall vibe. I think like me coming from California, it's like more of a chill place, and like I'm maybe biased because I'm from there, but I just felt more comfortable there. And
Right.
coming out here to the East Coast, everyone's in like such a goddamn rush. You know, the light turns green for like 1 second, everyone's honking behind you. The roads are just like full of cars. People talk about the traffic in California. Traffic here is terrible.
Oh, really?
Um,
Mhm.
yeah. So, but there's some good sides of Philly. I think if you're like a single person and you like live in the city, then sure, it'd be fun. There's like a lot of stuff to do. But
Yeah.
I'm like a married man now and I'm settling down and I just want like my peace and quiet. And my house like on a farm with no neighbors and yeah.
So,
So
do you think you might do that soon? You might move away from Philly.
we are. Yeah, we're gonna be moving
Okay.
to we're moving to Nebraska in
Oh,
August.
nice.
Yeah, so the
Okay.
wife, she's finishing residency here. So she finishes this year, and then she got a job at a hospital in Nebraska.
Oh,
And
sweet.
yeah, we're going out there just because like the cost of living is so cheap. We can get like a decent house on a big plot of land. I can have my freaking studio shed in the background with no neighbors shouting at me. We can have a
Yeah.
garage that we like park the car in, and don't have to like fight
Sweet.
for parking outside. Um, yeah, so we're gonna do that and see how it works out for a few years. If we like it, we'll stay. If not, then we'll just move.
Are you planning on making any more YouTube videos for your channel anytime soon? Is that something that you kind of think you'll get back to, or?
Yes,
Oh,
absolutely.
okay.
I love like having a YouTube channel because that's like my creative outlet where like I don't have to make it for anyone else or like make it a certain way. Because right now, with the videos I do for Drumeo, it's like there's creative freedom, but also has to like meet certain criteria. Um, but on my YouTube, it's like I have ultimate freedom, which
Alright.
I love. And yeah, I'm like almost done editing one video right now. We've been
Sweet.
building this drum for like the past year. It's a snare drum made out of skateboards.
Oh,
Uh,
sick.
yeah, so we actually built two drums. We built an 8 inch and then a 12 inch with a local builder here in Philadelphia, Philly Drum Co.
Oh, yeah.
And
Yeah.
yeah, super cool guy, Ethan. And yeah, so I'd like go to his shop. We'd like work on it a little bit for a few hours. And yeah, I mean, we've been working on it for like a year now, just because timeline, like I don't want to affect his work schedule. So it's like whenever he's free, he has a second, then we just like kind of get together and work on it.
Right.
But yeah, so that's one video. Um, Not sure about the lessons and stuff. Honestly, there's like not much brain capacity for me to like sit and like be bored and think of like, oh, what kind of YouTube video can I make? Because I'm kind of just like, working on the Drumeo stuff. So that's like, I guess, the only downside to having like a normal job, but everyone has a normal job. So not everyone can just like
That's
sit
true.
at home and think of random videos to make all day.
Yeah, not everybody's got the big gig playing
Yeah.
in arenas every night and yeah, being in the Foo Fighters.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. But when you make your videos, I know you've usually got a lot of ideas like mapped out on your phone. Do you write like a script for your videos, or is it just something that you kind of do on the fly and then you come up with an idea? Oh, this could also fit in there. What's your process of filming videos?
Yeah, when I first started making videos, I would just wing it. Like I'd set the camera up and then just blabble to the camera. And I like making videos like that because it's like organic. But then I also figured out you can streamline the process if you just like script out certain things that you want to say. So then I started doing that, just like writing talking points, like, okay, these are the points that I want to hit. And I just like have those notes next to the camera while I said the stuff. Just because it makes it go by a lot smoother. And for more of the like heavily edited videos, I would sit there and like have a video idea and then just I'd open the Pages document on my computer and just like type it out as if I was speaking to the camera. just so it would like sound organic and feel natural. And then typically when I'd be typing out the script, I'd like come up with a random idea. I'd be like, oh, like maybe I can like add this shot in there because that like sparked the idea. And then you can start to kind of create the video around those video ideas that you have while writing the script. And it just makes the creative process go a lot more smoothly instead of just winging it and putting the camera up and just chatting and hoping it all goes well, which it works out sometimes, but you just spend more time like editing and cutting out the silent fluff when you're just sitting there in front of the camera like, what do I want to say next, you know?
Yeah, for sure.
But yeah, so that was kind of like my process now is like, if I have an idea, instead of turning the camera on, I just type it out, like things that I want to say. Yeah. And then also you can kind of adjust it too, because you're like, oh, maybe I'll mention this earlier, or I don't want to say this yet, like I'll throw this at the bottom. And yeah.
All right. And I guess through that you can kind of come up with ideas for other videos, because you might think of an idea that's cool, but you think, oh, actually maybe that doesn't quite fit there, but that would be cool for a different video.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. So wait, do you have a YouTube channel, right?
I do. Yes. It's
so what kind of stuff do you post?
So I've got mainly vlogs. We mentioned the cruise ship thing before, because I spent time on a cruise ship last year, and I did one contract for Carnival, and I did probably about 13 or 14 vlogs, I think, over the time that I was on the ship. Nice. And it's funny because you can kind of see I go from, because it was my first time on a ship, I go from in the first vlog super excited, like a little, like a young kid who's like, it's the novelty of like, oh my God, this is insane. I've never been on a ship. This is like amazing. They have everything. Oh my God, look, it's free food, music everywhere. There's so many people. We're meeting new guests every week. Oh my God, this is amazing. And then it just kind of, throughout the video, you see the gradual progression of me just getting more and more like, hey guys, yeah, I'm really tired. I'm gonna get some coffee, and it's like,
right,
yeah, it just became very monotonous. I know that you said in one of your videos that cruise life is not all it's chalked up to be. Maybe tell me a little bit more about your experience on ships.
Yeah, I was the same way. Like I was really thrilled in the beginning and really enjoyed it. And I guess the main negative aspect was like just playing every single night like that. I know you have to do it, but just playing cover songs like that every single night like really killed me, and I didn't want to, and ended up drinking a lot on the ships. I think the ships kind of bring out a bad side of most people. But yeah, I would just end up drinking a lot too, and then drinking before the shows, just to be like literally drunk during my performances, because it was so boring. And it's like I can play this song like in my sleep,
Yeah.
So yeah, maybe not the best, but the thing I loved the most about it obviously was just like traveling and seeing different places and being able to get off the ship and kind of explore for like the 5 hours they give you to explore or whatever.
Yeah.
That was the fun part. And then also like meeting a bunch of people from around the world. Like the crew was pretty cool also, that we had like everyone would hang out in the crew bar and everyone was super nice. And but one thing I did hate was like that whole hierarchy thing. Like the cruise director and everything, they really love to feel like they're an important person in the world when they are not important at all, but they have this job title that makes them feel like high and mighty, so they can like tell you what to do. And where's your freaking name badge? Like, dude, I don't need to wear my name badge around here. No one cares who my name is,
Yeah.
I guess I understand that's how things run on the ship, but that's the thing I didn't like, because at least on our ship, musicians were treated like peasants, and we're not peasants.
Oh, really?
We're artists.
I mean, I know there are a lot of rules, but yeah. So you guys got treated like peasants? Is that?
Not really, but it's like we weren't allowed to eat in certain areas. We weren't allowed to like walk around in certain areas on the ship, and it's just like, why? It's like, why can't I just like exist and then play your stupid show in the evening?
It sounds like we had more privileges at Carnival, because I've heard that Carnival does treat their people well. Like everybody says they treat their people well. Luckily, we had a very like nice cruise director. He was a really lovely guy, but Yeah, it was the rules. I used to get like told off for wearing my shorts in guest areas, but they were already the carnival approved shorts. Um, and then I used to get like scolded constantly and sort of got it's almost like every week we were told, "Oh, guys, now they're going to take it more seriously, and next week they're handing out warnings. You know, don't be on your phone in guest areas. Don't wear shorts. You got to wear long pants." And then, I'd still do it, and I never got a warning. And I was like, "Is anybody actually going to give me a warning, or like, But
Yeah. Yeah, I got in
yeah,
trouble for like talking on my phone in a guest area.
yeah.
And then he also like yelled at me because I didn't have my badge on at the same time. I'm like, dude, who cares, you know?
Yeah,
But
the badge thing, yeah, is sometimes, yeah, I know what you mean. Sometimes I'd walk out and I'd forget my name tag, and then somebody would be like, "Where's your name tag?" I'm like, oh, God forbid I forget my name tag. Jesus.
yeah, I know. But yeah, I mean, I get it. There's like rules they need to have, and I think by the end of my contracts, I was just like so over it that I was like, screw you guys, you know. And also like I didn't apply for the job technically. Like a lot of people have to audition, and if you're playing with like the house band and stuff like that. So my band had already had connections with Princess Cruises because they had already done contracts before I was even in the band. So like the band manager basically just asked me like, "Hey, do you want to do this cruise gig?" And I was like, "Yeah, sure." So I didn't like beg Princess to hire me or anything like that. I was like a working musician just like trying to make money and travel
Yeah.
the world. So maybe I was like rebellious or something. I was like, I'm not going to listen to you guys or something. Maybe I'm a bad person to be employed by them.
Oh, I guess it's kind of the soul of an artist. It kind of kills your soul, as a musician, because you
Big
fell in
time.
love with the craft. You fell in love with, like, I don't know, I guess the kind of the feeling of being liberated by music. And then you feel like on the ship there's all these like constraints. And there's good sides to it, but there's just, it feels like there's too many like constraints, and you don't have as much freedom as you feel like as you feel like you would ideally want to kind of be able to freely, yeah, express yourself. And I know what you mean with playing the same songs over and over again. But yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
I guess you were at least playing an acoustic kit, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Thankfully, we were playing an acoustic kit. But even that too,
Oh,
like when I got on the ships, I like didn't really know how to play with dynamics at the time. Like I loved hitting a good solid rim shot, like loud.
yeah.
And a lot of the venues were like pretty small, and so I wasn't able to like play as loud and hit hard, like how it feels good to play the drums. But I
Yeah.
learned eventually to just enjoy like playing at the volume that you're supposed to be playing at, like given the space that you're in. I can like appreciate that now, like the dynamics that you need and the spatial awareness and everything like that. You can't always just hit as hard as you want.
Yeah. That
Um,
is true. That's very true.
yeah, so I hated that in the beginning, but then ended up loving that at the end. And yeah, also like I think it did help my chops in the long run, or also like just my internal metronome and like because you are practicing every single night basically. You're playing a show, but you're practicing.
Yeah.
You're getting the time in. So I think I take that part for granted, like getting to play every single night and practice and work on my pocket or whatever. Um, and that's kind of what it turned into towards the end. I wouldn't think of it like playing a show. I just think about it like as practice and like you're putting the time in and this is what you love. So like, don't complain. You're like playing with all your friends um, but yeah, there's good sides and bad sides to it all. But um, yeah, I think if anyone's given the opportunity to do it, then they should because I think it's just a good opportunity,
For
and like
sure.
you get to travel the world and be exposed to different cultures and meet new people and
Make
I
that
think
money.
make money and I think it makes you a better musician. Like you're not gonna leave there like a worse musician than when you got there, So and then also it'll just teach you about like being a working musician and like interacting with other musicians, other professional musicians.
For
How
sure.
did you how did you get the gig?
I auditioned through a agency.
Okay.
So basically, I was trying for like maybe 3/4 of a year to try and get a cruise gig. Somebody in Nashville told me about, I think it was actually the Carnival gig. And then, and just in general about cruise ships. And then I kind of thought, I kind of became hell bent on trying to get that gig because I thought, hey man, that sounds awesome. And then I had a tour that was ending October of 2020. What is it now? 2024, October of 2022, I guess. And so I knew I needed something afterwards, I needed a job afterwards. So,
Right.
and then I worked on my sight reading because I had a couple of sort of test auditions just to, test the waters and see what was I lacking and, learn what I needed to prepare. And I realized my sight reading was absolutely terrible, especially like jazz reading and stuff. I was sitting there in the audition. It was super awkward because I was just going ding, 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 ding. I was just like, oh crap, I have no idea what I'm doing. This is the guy's watching me on Skype, and I'm just like, dude, this is a train wreck. This is not going well. And so I knew that when he got back to me a week later and said, yeah, like we can see like you've got the versatility, you could play the different styles, we can see that, but it's the sight reading that's like you got to work on that. So yeah,
And that's a super important thing if you're like the house band too, because you get like the music from a guest entertainer or whatever, like the night before sometimes or something like that, right?
yeah.
And so like I guess you have to be pretty good at.
Although with us with Carnival, it wasn't. We didn't actually have to sight read much. It helped for the rehearsals because we had a rehearsal like a month before going on the ship, but we didn't have like guest entertainers because it was more like a party band kind of thing. It was more like top 40
Oh, okay.
kind of stuff. So for the rehearsals, we had charts, and that really helped to just be able to, kind of internalize the parts quicker. And, we did, well, maybe let's say we did Living on a Prayer and we added a couple of bars or took away a couple of bars or added some extra stabs, and I could just mark down the stabs or whatever.
Right.
But yeah, it wasn't like the show band kind of stuff on ships that you hear about, which I kind of think potentially someday if I need a gig, I'd potentially be open to trying the show band thing just for the sight reading component. But I'm also like, is living on the ship for months at a time worth it really? Like with all the other stuff that comes with it, I'm not so sure.
Yeah.
I do like my freedom on land, but then obviously I was making more on the ship than I am on land.
Right.
But yeah, going out on the road in the world seems like a more appealing kind of gig than
Totally.
being stuck on a ship.
So you were the party band then, because I for some reason thought that you were like part of the show band, because I was on the party band as well. Like we were the party band, I guess.
Yeah.
So yeah, we weren't playing any like the jazz standards or any of the stuff for guest entertainers, which I enjoyed that. Like I'd rather be playing the top 40s, I guess, as opposed to that type of stuff.
Yeah. I mean, I guess, yeah, this, as I say, the sight reading component, it'll obviously, get your chops up and you're constantly sort of out of your comfort zone, constantly on edge about, I need to, keep playing new stuff and get handed 10 charts one afternoon. And then that night we're playing those songs. But yeah, with the party band, it's definitely more like you can kind of let go more. The songs, most of them, they're most of them are radio hits that you've heard before. So,
Yeah.
that is fun. Yeah. So, but when you were playing with the party band, what kind of stuff at the time were you guys playing? What were the kind of hits of that day?
It was like always top 40 stuff. So we would kind of circulate through. We had like a song list of like 300 or 400 songs. And so each day of the week was kind of like a different theme night. So there'd be like disco night, we'd play like 70s stuff or yeah, and then like there'd be like country night or 2000s throwback or stuff like that. So we kind of just circulate through all the top 40s from each decade, I guess. So anything from like the 60s on,
Yeah.
anything that was a top 40 within those times, we pretty much be playing.
Right. And that was with Liquid Blue, right?
Yeah, Liquid Blue.
Yeah. So are you still playing with them occasionally, or?
No, it's been like a year now since I've done a gig with them. Since I moved, well, when I was living in South Africa, sometimes they would fly me out for international gigs. Um, and then even when I moved back here to Philly, I did a couple travel gigs with them. But now they have another drummer that's second in line, who's actually the
Okay.
son of my drum teacher who got me the gig. So it's
Okay.
fair. It's only fair. So
Yeah.
yeah, now it's like the father son are like the one and two for that band,
Right.
which is pretty cool.
Okay. I mean, hey man, you've got the gig with Drumeo, doing the video stuff for Drumeo, so that's a cool gig.
Yeah, and like I miss gigging, like I miss going out and playing, but um I don't miss doing it for like the money aspect because it did turn into kind of like, oh, I have to play a gig tonight, pack up the drums, go play a show, and only make $100. It's just like, dude, sometimes it's such a struggle. And now, now part of me does want to go out and play, but just to play with other musicians, like,
Yeah.
um, and also something I've always wanted to do is like write my own freaking music and perform music that I enjoy for people. But I think that's a dream that a lot of people have, but it's so hard. It's so hard to like be an original band and make
Mm.
ends meet. Even the ones that are like touring, they're like half the time touring in a van, like barely able to sell tickets, and like they end the tour and they don't make any money. Um,
Yeah.
and it sucks because like you want to do something you're passionate about, but at the end of the day, you have to pay your bills.
Yeah.
So it's like, how do you make that work?
Yeah. When I found out a couple years ago that Periphery, a band like Periphery, right? They barely break even on tour. I'm just like, how is that? Like, that's life is so unfair that a
Yeah,
band like Periphery is like barely, but obviously they're making money off their other businesses, right? Like they've all got multiple businesses, they're driving Lambos and Ferraris and stuff. So obviously they're well off, but it's not the gigging that's actually making them the money. The gigging is just the passion and, being there for the fans and just because they love it, but they don't have to be like, yeah, they don't have to pay their rent off that. Um,
totally.
but I
Yeah,
think,
dude,
yeah,
it's hard.
yeah, for sure. I think nowadays you really do need to have multiple streams of income to, to make a living as a musician.
That's the biggest thing, man. Like you're not gonna be able to survive if you just gig. That's why I was doing all that stuff. Like I was gigging with like three different bands and like teaching lessons and doing the YouTube stuff, and um, you have to do like multiple things.
For sure, man, for sure. At what point in your life though did you find yourself what was like the point where you officially were like a full-time musician?
I do remember the moment where I was like, okay, like I'm quitting my job because I'm too busy like playing gigs, or not too busy, but it's just like I'm gonna gig and then also like make videos or whatever and try and make it work. It was a
Yeah.
scary thing because I think most people feel like you need a job, which is true. Like it's nice to have a job. So felt totally unnatural to be like, I'm quitting my job and like now I don't have a consistent paycheck and like hopefully it works. um, it's a super scary thing. But I
Yeah.
think the best time to do that obviously is like when you're young and um, not married or have a girlfriend. It's like you're just a single guy and like fuck it.
For sure.
So so yeah, but it was
Right.
scary.
Yeah. So Guitar Center was like the only like day job you kind of had
Yeah,
otherwise.
I mean, I worked at a golf range before Guitar Center when I was like
Oh
16.
yeah. Right.
Yeah, I worked at a golf range and then Guitar Center, and then oh yeah, so after the cruise ships, that's when I started working in the wood shop. So yeah, my friend's neighbor like owned a wood shop, and he needed an extra hand there, so I started working there like kind of part time, I guess. So I was like also gigging and giving lessons, but also working at this wood shop. There's always something, dude. Like you, even if you're gigging or giving lessons, it's like you still kind of need like another form of income to make it work, whether it's part time or full time.
Right.
Um, but I actually enjoyed working at the wood shop because I didn't have to deal with customer service, and then also I like learned a lot about building, and I like building and making stuff. So it was really cool.
All right. So like hospitality, customer service isn't really your thing. It's not really your gig.
No, no, absolutely not. The customer is not always right, but they think they are.
That is true. Yeah. Yeah. I used to work in a beer shop a couple years ago, and honestly, it's kind of like I feel like you do see the best in humanity on one hand, but on the other hand, you see the worst. And
Yeah,
yeah, people asking the most ridiculous questions where you're like, if you can't figure this out for yourself, like what am I doing here?
right.
It's yeah, it's ludicrous.
Yeah, Guitar Center like wasn't too bad honestly because like I love the drums and I could talk about the drums all day.
Yeah.
So if there was someone who walked in the drum department and needed help, like I was there and I could tell them everything about the cymbals or heads or drums. Only thing I didn't like about Guitar Center was like you kind of had to like hit these certain sales goals, and like to the manager you're like a salesperson, so like you have to pitch to the people like, oh, you like want this kit, and there's like a certain way you had to pitch, like pitch them the
Mm.
more expensive kit first, that way when they say no, then you can pitch them a little cheaper kit instead of like the
Mm.
kit that you know that they should have. So I was not a good salesman because I was honest, and I would like literally tell them like, hey, you could buy this $300 or $3,000 DW, or you can get this like $300 kit, put some good heads on it and tune it, and it'll probably sound just as freaking good.
Yeah.
So I was like the honest salesman at Guitar Center. So I never hit my sales goals or like make commission because you
All
had to
right.
hit a certain tier to like get commission. Um, and I never would. And the drum
Yeah.
department was like the least busiest department in Guitar Center. So
Yeah, I know from going into Guitar Center that yeah, it always seems to there doesn't seem to be anyone in there. Never seems to be anybody actually working in there, which is
yeah.
odd.
No, that's
Uh,
because the drum department worker wants to hit their sales goals, so they go out to accessories and pro audio. That's what I used to do
right.
towards the end. I was like, dude, there's no one in here. Like, I'm gonna go sell some freaking cables, you know, or just you just go out to the different sections because that's where like people needed help.
Yeah.
And I would just wait until they'd be like, brand into drums. There's a customer. All right, now I get to talk about what I want to talk about.
And I guess you were behind the counter. You're talking about like practicing rudiments on the practice pad and
Yeah, I
com-
was always playing drums back there because back then, or at least my boss, he was like pretty lenient and he knew I was like a drum nerd. So I'd like always be back there playing on the electric kits and like sometimes the acoustic kits if like no one was in the store and I could like bash on them, or like even unboxing new kits that we got and just like putting them together. And because I was like a gearhead, like I loved new gear, and if like new things came out, I was always like trying it out or looking at it or messing with the Roland Octopad, and
yeah.
um yeah. So it was fun for me.
Did you ever have anyone like any big names come in the store?
Um oh, Marco Miniman lived nearby, so he'd always
Wow.
pop in. Um yeah, no others that I can really think of. Travis Barker would come in a few times. No, I'm just kidding. Travis Barker never came
That would be
in.
crazy.
Yeah. Yeah, not too many famous people.
All right. Have you ever got to meet Travis anywhere else?
Um oh, I did. I saw him like in the flesh at a Guitar Center drum off once. Never like got to shake his hand or walk up to him, but he was like 10 feet from me. That was good
Right.
enough. Yeah.
Did you feel starstruck or do you not get starstruck?
I did like back in the day, like when I think I was like 19 or something. And yeah, whenever I'd see those drummers, I'd be like, oh my God, that's so and so, in my head. But I was
Yeah.
never the one to like run up to them and or ask for a picture or autograph or anything like that. Um, it was more just like acknowledging their presence and being like, "Oh my God, I love you." But I mean, even now, like I I I don't get starstruck, I guess, but I just like acknowledge like um if there's someone who I really idolize on online or whatever. Like even getting to hang with Zach at NAM and stuff is like it's weird because you're like, dude, like I love your videos, you know.
Yeah.
But they're all just normal people, and even like Estepario, I've seen you online, but when you meet them, it's just like, yo, what's up? And then you just like hang out and work, and they're all just normal people.
Yeah.
But I love that. I love that aspect of it. And then I guess it's nice because I have some form of respect because I like make YouTube videos as well. So they're probably like, oh, this is Brandon from online. So it's nice that we're kind of on this like similar plane.
Yeah.
But when I was younger, I was like a little fanboy for sure.
It's in the drummer scene. I find that I mean, I've been fortunate enough to, to meet some of my heroes, some people that I look up to, but I don't think I've met anyone where I've gone like, oh God, he was a bit of a dick or he was a bit arrogant. Like in the drummer scene, it feels like drummers are usually the down to earth ones, right? There's no ego. It's not like guitar players.
Yes.
There's none of that ego. Yeah, that's the beautiful thing. And it's kind of like, it feels like a tight knit community. It's like
Totally.
once you have drums in common, it's like, oh dude, that's awesome. And then you kind of, the ball gets rolling from there. Like I can't tell you how many times I've, got chatting to someone and then they've just said like, oh yeah, I'm a drummer. And I'm like, oh dude, me too. And then it's like 2 hours of just like talking gear and talking shop. And yeah.
That's what I love about the drum community because everyone's like super chill and there's like, they're not secretive about it or anything. And even like my idols that I've met, they're all just so chill.
Yeah.
Willing to share, willing to chat, and no ego. I wonder if drums just attract a certain type of person because it's like, I don't know, drummers are all like a little bit weird. And also just like, if you're playing a live show, the drummer's just like in the back. We don't particularly want the spotlight, so like you get someone with a bigger ego who's like a singer or a guitar player because they want to be like, look at me. But drummers are kind of just like, I just want to groove and then like go back to my garage and figure out how to play this weird thing in 15/16 or whatever. We're just like kind of extroverted introverts or something. I don't know.
Yeah, the unsung heroes of the industry.
Yeah, exactly. Like we're humble. We know we're the most important person in the band, but we don't have to say that,
Damn
whereas
right.
the singer wants to be like, I'm important.
Damn right. Yeah, and he's always the first one at the bar picking up chicks and you're still taking down your cymbals and you're like, oh God, this is this is not why I got into this. And it's like taking down a kit and you've just got like, 8, 7, 8, 9, 10 grand of worth of equipment, all just like, trying to like stash it. And it's bizarre, man. It's like that saying, a musician, especially drummers, is someone who loads, what was it, $5,000 worth of gear into a $500 car to play a gig for $50.
Yep, exactly.
It's like literally that couldn't be truer for drums.
Oh, totally.
Yeah.
Well, at least drummers are kind of the ones who still get the hot girls, like Tommy Lee and Pamela Anderson.
Oh, dude, yeah.
Travis Barker with a Kardashian. At least, we can still pull. We're not like bassists.
Yeah, that's true. I guess it depends which bassist, but yeah.
I guess so. I'm sure there's some bassists out there who are killing it.
Yeah. But Brandon, tell me a little bit about like when you go about practicing, because I've seen a lot of like people, big names. Each person seems to have their own philosophy on practice. When you go into like practice something, are you someone who like you're writing down you're writing down concepts and then kind of keeping track of like keeping a practice log, or are you more someone who does it by ear and then I don't know, speeds it up and slows it down? And what's your kind of approach to practicing?
Yeah, it's kind of different, I guess, for each application. And then also like as I've grown up, I haven't honestly been practicing much lately, but I would say back when I was like, trying to get really good, it was mostly just something that inspired me. Then I would think like, oh, how can I do that? A lot of times it was just slowing YouTube videos down and like watching their hands and seeing what they were doing. And sometimes I would write things out, like if there's a certain pattern, I would just write down like RLRRLL or whatever, and then kind of just hash that out behind the kit. I never kept a practice log or anything like that. If like I'm trying to learn a song for a drum cover, I would literally just like start from the beginning, learn the first 10 seconds, and then rewind, learn the next 15 seconds, rewind like 20 seconds. That's how I learned covers. I never looked up like sheet music or anything like that. But yeah, the thing with practice, I feel like as you get better at the drums is like in the beginning, it's all about like the physical aspect of it. Like your hands physically can't do this thing. But then as you get better, then it starts to switch into like a mental thing. It's more like, what are you thinking about while you're playing the drums? Because your hands can do this thing, but if you can't like hear what you're trying to play, or like I don't know, it's weird. You just like start to try and think of things in a different way. But yeah, I haven't been practicing lately. I probably should. But yeah, back when I was making a bunch of YouTube videos, and that's another thing is I started to just practice just for this video or something like that, which is something that kind of I didn't like the feeling of, because it was like I stopped playing drums or learning drums like for me. It became more of like, I'm gonna practice this thing so I can post this video, or like practice this so that I can give a lesson on it or something like that. And something about that like didn't feel genuine. So I kind of like the space I'm in now, where it's like I can just play drums whenever I feel inspired to, and if I hear a cool song, I'll play the song, or just practice something for myself as opposed to like for others.
Yeah.
That's a little like toxic trait, I think, that can kind of happen to certain people within the social media realm that we live in now. So yeah, I hated that, just like breaking out the camera just to, practice something or make a video just to make the video, instead of back when I was a kid, like, oh my gosh, how did Neil Peart do that? Like, I want to spend 10 hours in the garage just to learn this thing and like not post about it.
Yeah.
Everything nowadays is kind of like for content, but
Yeah.
I'm like happy where I'm at now. It's like, I know I'm not going to be the best drummer in the world, and that's fine. I just want to always keep drums as like a positive thing in my life, and like it's a hobby.
For sure.
And if I feel inspired to play, then I'll play. If I feel inspired to learn something new, then I'll learn that new thing. But that's the thing that scared me on the cruise ships, is because I was like playing when I didn't want to, and it started to make me like hate the drums. And I was like scared, because I was like, dude, this is like my passion. I love the drums. I don't want to ever hate the drums. And so I realized I go through pockets of inspiration and then I kind of just learned to not fight that. So like if I feel uninspired, then I'm just not going to play.
Yeah.
And then when I feel inspired, then I'll play.
Yeah. I guess that's only human.
Yeah. And I think people are different, because I remember I went to Aaron Spears' clinic in South Africa. And at the end, we were all asking questions, and I asked him, I was like, what do you do when you feel uninspired to play the drums? Because I think that was like a low point where I was feeling uninspired. And he said, I never get uninspired to play the drums. And I think that's how he was built, man. He like loved the drums,
man,
Yeah. But then he was like, no, like, I'll give you a real answer. He's like, I like listening to music. So if I listen to music and like hear something I like, then I'll like play along to it. But I think he was that kind of way. And I think there are those types of people who just like love the drums, and it's like their main thing. But my issue has always been like, I like doing a bunch of things. Like I like skating or building stuff or playing the drums or filmmaking. And so now I kind of use each of those things where it's like, what do I feel most inspired to do within this moment? And then I go do that thing, and that like gives me some fulfillment.
Right.
But it's nice being able to hop from like one thing to another.
Yeah. I was watching the Eric Moore video earlier. I think he's another one of those guys that just seems like he's always on, man. Like the tenacity it just blows my mind. Like, the Drumeo video from like 7 years ago that he did?
Did he go to Drumeo? I don't even know this.
When Eric Moore was on Drumeo, and he played a song at the beginning, and then it was like the song was like 4 minutes, and then this, usually someone goes on Drumeo, they play a track, and then it's like Jared or Dave or whoever is like, oh, this is so and so, and it's like, oh, thank you for having me, but but it was like he played the song fizzles out, and he just goes, and he's just
Yeah.
going off, and he went off longer than the actual song, and I'm like, I was watching it with my dad, and I was just like, I looked at my dad, I was like, can you believe this guy? Like he just goes and goes, and then after he's done, Dave was like, dude, what was that? And he's like, it's drums, man, it's drums. And he's just so like on, and like, man, I just love Eric's energy. It's incredible, man.
Yeah, he has a great energy, man. And yeah, you can just tell he's that type of person who just loves the drums and loves
Yeah.
playing the drums, and he can express himself on the drums and say whatever he wants to say, and it comes so naturally to some people.
Yeah, man. But as I said before, I think it's just human to go through phases of like, yeah, sometimes you feel uninspired, or you mentioned before, today's social media realm, it's easy to become kind of, for some people, like disheartened. I know I've been guilty of, watching one too many Instagram reels of drummers just like chops for days, chops, 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 chops. And then you're like, oh, and you walk away from it thinking like, oh God, or you go to your drum set afterwards and you're like, oh dude, I suck. And then you're just like, oh, well, screw it. And you just kind of, for the day, you're like, oh, now I just feel like crap. Or it's like, oh, let me maybe practice a chop. And then you're like, no, I'm never going to get it as good as, as the Pario, or I'm never going to. I think it's easy to kind of compare yourself in today's day and age when it's constantly being shoved down your throat. But it's at the same time, with those people, I guess it's what you don't see is the like years and years of hard work and blood, sweat, and tears that they've put into actually breaking things down at a painful tempo, and then practicing that over and over and speeding it up, and then eventually they're able to get it to like, but you're watching it, you're seeing the final product. Maybe they've done 100 takes of that video, and
Probably.
yeah, and so yeah, I think it's important to just let, like, feel the feelings, right? But not get too caught up in that it like destroys the fun. And if you're not having fun, you were saying you got other things that you love to do. So
Yeah.
it's yeah.
Yeah, I think it's good to have like multiple outlets, and I mean, one of the beautiful things about the drums is like you'll never ever be as good as you want to be. And I like that because that leaves room for like something to practice. It would suck if you like were the best at the drums and you've like conquered it and then what, the thing I enjoy is seeing stuff like that online where it's like, how the heck did you do that? And then like you trying to figure it out, and you slowly just get better and better over the years. Even if it doesn't feel that way, it's happening. Even if you're just listening to music, you're like getting ear training, and that's even a big thing. Like I haven't practiced drums much in the past year, but I still feel like I can like speak the language of drums and play the things that I want to play. And granted, I'd probably be a lot better at chops if I was chopping out the past year, but yeah, drums is kind of like riding a bike, I guess, in a sense, to where you like once I sit behind the kit, I'm like, oh my gosh, this feels so comfortable, and I play a little groove, hit a couple rim shots, and like, it feels so good. I love that feeling.
Yeah.
And yeah, I love that there's like still room to grow. So when I feel inspired to practice, I can kind of work on new things, and then you surprise yourself with those new things. You're like, oh, this is cool. So
Yeah.
it's a lifelong journey, which
That's
I'm
for sure.
I'm stoked about.
Absolutely. So yeah, we're coming to the end of this episode, Brandon. Is there anything that you want to plug? Anything you got coming up this year you want to shout out?
Drumeo.com. No, I'm just kidding. No, I really don't have much stuff. I'm kind of just like going with the motions and doing stuff with Drumeo, and not much in terms of for myself, for my own YouTube channel, but I'm fine with that because I feel like even the stuff I'm doing for Drumeo, I'm kind of just working on my cinematography and editing and stuff. So I'm kind of just trying to get better in that field. But no plugs for you viewers. If you want to check out my past videos, check me out on YouTube, Brandon Scott Drums. Don't have a TikTok. I'm too old for that. Instagram, Brandon Scott Drums. Yeah, man. But I appreciate you for having me here, and I love talking about drums, and hopefully shared some insights with you and your viewers.
Hell yeah, man. Thank you for coming on, man. I appreciate you taking the time.
Thanks for having me. Give me money.